Welcome again to the Talking Pictures podcast with hosts Tony Toscano, CiCi Chambers, and Raquel Baldwin-Horton.
Let's get the podcast started. Let me do a quick opener and we will go from there, okay?
Sounds good.
And welcome again to the Talking Pictures podcast. I'm here in studio, and with me on the phone is Al Coronel. I'm going to let Al tell you a little bit about his resume, but he's got some really cool upcoming stuff that I know a lot of you are going to be seeing. So, welcome, Al.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, you are welcome. Al and I actually became friends, or at least acquaintances, at Sundance 2017 here in Park City, and
yeah, I'm still recovering from that, by the way.
Yeah, it was go. I don't think you guys stopped until you got to my house.
No, we didn't. It was full throttle, minimal sleep. We did get a chance to eat a lot of the food up there in Sundance and partake in a lot of the festivities, but yeah, it was nonstop.
But it was fun, and did you make a lot of contacts up there?
We did indeed, and I actually ran into a lot of people that I had not seen in a while. You know, it's as these people's careers take off, people get busier, and people are out and about, and you lose contact with a lot of people. And sometimes, you know, at events like that, you tend to run into some unexpected, you make some reconnections, some unexpected big connections, and it was good to do that.
That's great. I know that you are in a big movie coming out that a lot of our listeners on Geek Factor Media are going to just go, what? And drop their joysticks. I know, right? But this is what's going to happen. They're listening right now, and they're going, okay, woman, just shut up. Just tell us what the movie is. Tell us what it is.
Well, the movie is the next release of Marvel's Wolverine movie, Logan, starring Hugh Jackman, Boyd Holbrook, Stephen Merchant, and myself. So, yeah, I'm really, really excited about that. It appears that they'll be releasing or actually premiering the movie for the very first time to an audience at the Berlin Film Festival. So right now I'm working with the publicity department at 20th Century Fox and my publicist and manager to see if I'm going to participate in that. So there's a possibility I may be going to Berlin for that.
That would be really cool. And I told you to let me know because I'd have my cousin come out and see you there and at least shake hands and meet.
I will definitely do that.
So tell me, can you talk about your role in Logan?
Yeah, I play a federale military commander by the name of Commander Ruiz. And I have a special unit that I am in charge of. And we're tasked with the mission of pursuing and capturing Logan. But it's unclear as to whether my intentions are good or bad. It's set way in the future. It follows the Old Man Logan storyline. So for those of you out there that are huge Marvel comic fanatics or follow, Wolverine's story, it follows that Old Man Logan. And he's much older. There is and this isn't a spoiler because this was in the trailer where he actually says that all the mutants in the world are gone. And the only ones that remain, there's maybe less than a handful now in existence. It's unclear as to what happened, but I'm sure those faithful fans that do read the Wolverine saga have a pretty good idea of what happened to most of the mutants. So I'll leave that. I'll leave it with that, please.
Now, did you have to do a lot of green screen work on this? Was it shot on location?
It was shot on location. I mean, there were special effects that were folded into everything as we were shooting, but nothing in front of green screen. I mean, they created some massive sets out on location. A portion of the movie was shot in New Orleans, and I was involved with the portion that took place in New Mexico, which when I got there, I thought, they're using this old warehouse or this old water tower, and I come to find out that no, this was actually completely constructed for the movie. The locations that were at in New Mexico, I think, took them somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 months to build in preparation for the shoot.
Now, didn't you say you had to actually sleep or stay in a tank of some sort?
Oh, no, they put me up in a really, really nice resort while I was out there, but during our shoot days, some of the days were really, really long with really early call times. And sometimes there were some lulls in between shooting. We did have a couple of, interruptions. Mother Nature came in and dropped a couple of rainstorms on us, and then a couple of freak dust storms and lightning storms. So we actually were in the middle of a big scene, and we had a lightning strike happen about a mile away from set, and the safety officer on set called it and said, "Stop everything." And so everybody had to rush into the structures and basically to avoid being struck by lightning. So I found a water tower, and it's a big main piece in the actual film. And there were these big, huge storage containers inside with all the stunt mats that the stunt team was using. There must have been a stunt team of about 50 stuntmen, give or take 10 or 20 more. So I was able to go in there and just lay out on those mats in between takes and just catch a couple of these.
That must have been nice, just kind of like, where's Al? Where's Al?
Oh, no, I made sure that everybody knew where I was at any given moment because, they were running a real tight ship and they were moving rather quickly. So I wanted to make sure that when the moments came to shoot my coverage or my scene, that they knew exactly where I was. Yeah, I've seen it happen where they're looking for somebody and going crazy, and someone disappeared off set without letting anybody know. I didn't want that to happen, being that this is by far the biggest budget feature that I've ever been involved in so far in my career, and I wanted to make sure that I left a lasting impression.
Well, you've always been very courteous and professional as long as I've known you, the short time that I've known you anyway, but
thank you.
This man has a spine so straight that you could align railroad ties with it. I mean, it's just, his posture is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think that's my military background. I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, so, it was always standing tall, sticking that chest out, and just having a presence. And it has stuck with me all these years.
Yeah, we were talking about your physique and how every branch of the military has a different physique.
Right.
Yeah.
A little bit different stance. And I've never heard it explained the way you explained it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
But it makes sense, right?
It does, totally. I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, and there is a sense of pride in any branch of service. But definitely in the Marine Corps, there's a little bit more bravado that I find than some of the other services, and it's real easy to pick a Marine out of a crowd. Yep. I think.
Definitely. So speaking of your very long career, what are some of the other big projects that you have been in the past that our listeners might know about?
Well, I just completed. I recorded role on season 3 of TNT series The Last Ship, starring Eric Dane, and that was a fun season. It's still unclear as to whether or not they'll be bringing it back for future seasons, but that was one of the funnest experiences I had, being working on a Michael Bay production and working with an amazing cast and crew. And for me, it was like coming home because they were representing the United States Navy, and having been in the Marine Corps, we were a Department of the Navy. So I got a chance to be on these massive sets, but they recreated a battleship inside of about 3 or 4 sound stages. And for me, that was extremely memorable. If you would have blindfolded me and taken me onto the sound stage of the battleship and and taking the blindfold off, I would have thought that I was on board of a real cruiser, Navy cruiser. So that was really a fun experience. What I have coming up next is I have make a couple appearances in the new CBS series Training Day, which is based on the Denzel Washington movie starring Bill Paxton, and they're following the same storyline that was completed in the movie with Denzel Washington's character being killed off. Now Bill Paxton is the focal point. There's a question of whether or not he's a good cop or a bad cop along the lines of Denzel Washington's character.
So what do you play in that series?
I play a spook, a rogue CIA agent. And, I definitely don't want to spoil that because they haven't even released, the season premiere yet. But I get some really good screen time with Bill Paxton and some of the supporting cast on the series as well.
Okay, and our listeners on Geek Factor Media are really big gamers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you know where I'm going with this. So I'm going to let you kind of tell about it.
Well, I recently completed like a 1.5 long project for the upcoming Sony video game, The Dead Don't Ride. And the reason I can mention this is because it has been already released, the trailer for the video game online. And it's exciting to see what they're going to do with that. I can't really speak amongst what my character is because they're still keeping that pretty tight to their close to their heart. But I'm excited to see when that's released. Video games, unlike movies, it looks like they really take quite a while to complete. I mean, 1.5 to 2 years of filming motion capture for this video game is a really interesting process and very enjoyable. As an actor, it was a very freeing experience because first day on filming, the director told me, don't worry about camera angles, don't worry about where you're looking. You have about 150 cameras above, below you, around you, catching your every move. And then you also have the headgear that has the little camera catching all your facial expressions. So you do what you need to do, live the way you need to live in that space, and we'll get all of it, believe me. And sure enough, that's exactly what I would see on screen. And so it was a really exciting experience, and it's very much along the lines of what was done with the movie Avatar with all the motion capture. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see how that goes. The trailer itself, which many gamers can see if they search Dead Don't Ride, it's pretty graphic and also quite scary. It's one of those games that has you reeling in your seat, hoping that you don't, get swarmed by a whole group of undead.
Yeah, I saw the trailer. It looks really intense. To even give it a word that's like. I mean, there's not. It's just like it's so intense that I'm kind of like, do I buy this for my kids?
I know, right? When I saw the trailer for the very first time, I was shaking my head, going, "That is one of those games that just you start screaming in your seat because it just you're going berserk trying to survive this game. It's crazy."
Oh, speaking of surviving games, I want to switch tracks a little bit and go into how you got started in acting and what kind of training that you began getting or did in order to get good at your craft. Right.
Well, I always had an aspiration of being an actor. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, in a part of LA called East Hollywood. So for me, it was always around me. It was something that I always aspired to do. But of course, as you grow older, the doubting Thomases tend to put, thoughts in your mind about, I was taught about going to college, getting a degree, getting a career, establishing my family, and I did that. I shortly after I went to the Marine Corps right out of high school and got into communications. When I was getting ready to be discharged from the military, I went back into the communications field. Went back to school for communications and TV and film, but more of behind the scenes. But I knew that deep down inside, I always wanted to be in front of the camera and performing. So after having completed my degree, I actually got a degree in electrical engineering through communications, and was pretty established and successful in the communications field, but I knew that isn't where my heart really was. And so I made the decision to leave that field and go back to school to theater, to basically learn acting. And so I enrolled at USC, went through the USC theater program, completed my training there. Once I completed my training there, I enrolled at the Sanford Meisner Center for the Arts, which was located in North Hollywood here in Los Angeles. I did their 2-year program, and then once I completed that, I continued with the master's program. So I spent about another 4 years going through the Meisner program, which is one that I tended to gravitate towards while I was going through my education at USC. We covered many different styles or teaching methods, and that's what it really resonated with me, this whole idea of the actor's belief, and being put in this imaginary situation and how you would react as a human at your core to the situation that you're being put in. And being able to then drop that without having any lasting emotional scars. I know a lot of friends that have used techniques where they try and bring up old memories to try and plug that into the situation they're being put in. And for me, that could be very taboo and very scary at the same time, because you're opening up old wounds to try and bring about an emotion. And I felt, no, that doesn't really sound like something that I'd want to be doing. So I really gravitated towards the Meisner method of acting, and it has worked wonders for me. And even in the darkest of scenes that I may have had, I know that in the end, it was just a situation that I was put in, but I'm able to drop it and then go back to being me in the end. And it has really worked wonders for my career, and I'm a full-on Meisner addict, I would say.
Yeah, I studied the Meisner too, but my classes probably aren't as fruitive as yours were.
Yeah, we had an amazing instructor. His name was Marlen, and he had been Sandy Meisner's assistant for about 14 years. And when Sandy Meisner left the Neighborhood Playhouse in New York, Marlen was the director of the Neighborhood Playhouse. And one day Sandy Meisner reached out to him and said, hey, let's open up a Sanford Meisner Center in Los Angeles. And he brought Marlen out from New York out to Los Angeles to establish the Meisner Center for the Arts.
So let me jump ahead from your training. What was your first acting gig ever that was paid?
My first acting gig ever that was paid was a movie called Blow, starring Johnny Depp and Penelope Cruz. And I had one of my hobbies that I ended up picking up while I was still in the military was salsa dancing. And I got so addicted to salsa dancing, I was taking classes multiple times a week, getting pretty proficient, that one of my original instructors said, hey, I'm having auditions for my dance company. Why don't you come and audition? I know you've only been dancing for about 2 or 3 months, but you could come on board as an understudy. And I made it. I got on to the dance company, and within 2 months, I was performing with the company and started traveling around the world doing performances. And I was with that dance company for about 3 years. So since I had achieved a level of, as a professional dancer, they reached out to us, the production company from Blow, and said, hey, we need dancers for this wedding scene for this movie Blow. And they brought us on, and so the scene where Johnny Depp's character meets Penelope Cruz for the first time at a wedding reception, the dancer that is dancing around them the whole time, you'll see me there.
Wow.
And it was a first paying gig for me as on-screen talent, and it was where I got my first 2 SAG vouchers. Because, in order to become a member of SAG, you have to have 3. So I thought, wow, this is great. All I need to do is get one more, and I'll be able to join SAG. But that took me about another year before I was able to finally get that 3rd voucher, and then eventually I joined SAG.
Right on. So, is there? I know that you also you teach salsa, if I remember right, and you also teach fitness.
Well, I've always been involved in fitness my whole life. Having played sports through elementary, junior high, high school, and then into college, and then of course being involved in the military. I always had an interest in staying fit and doing fitness. And when I started pursuing acting, I knew that one of the things that I didn't want to do was be a waiter or a bartender, because even that has its limitations as far as you're at the mercy of someone scheduling you. And as a personal trainer, you make your own schedule. So I went in and got my certifications from several different companies that provide personal fitness training certifications, and then built a client list. And I have many clients that I still train from time to time that have been with me for over 10 years. So that has given me a lot of flexibility. Whenever I had to go out for auditions, I was able to move things around fairly easy. And I made some amazing contacts. I mean, I trained producers, actors, and some of the people that I trained actually ran into at Sundance. So it was fun to see that and have that somehow tied to my acting.
That's pretty.
And as far as the dancing, I did travel extensively for about 3-4 years. I traveled around the world teaching and performing. After I had left the company, I teamed up with a girl who was already known internationally for her salsa dancing. And together we traveled around the world teaching and performing. So I got an amazing experience of going to some of the places that I had only ever read about in school, and visiting, these historical landmarks like Rome, and then going to Stonehenge, and going to Scotland and Ireland, Switzerland. It was really amazing. And the best part about that, it was on other people's dime, because these promoters were the ones paying our way to travel and teach and perform. So it was an absolutely amazing experience. Now I mostly do it for social reasons. I go out social dancing now, so it's not so much teaching like I used to.
Is there anything you can't do well?
I can't play chess. I don't know the game of chess. So.
Well, see, I have 3 chess sets. You should have told me. I would have taught you.
I know. My father tried to teach me, and I was like, I don't get it. And but yeah, I try, and whenever I delve into something, I really go full force. So I do feel like I've lived several lifetimes in so far to date. It really is amazing how some of the things that I've experienced in life have overlapped.
Have you found that there has been a lot of sacrifice in doing what you love and getting where you are?
Certainly. There's always a sacrifice. You're putting yourself out there. And, for example, when I left my career of communications, having already, achieved my degree in electrical engineering, my family thought I was crazy. You're leaving a career that you're already established, you're doing well, you're being successful, to become an actor where there are no guarantees. But I knew that if I didn't take that step, I would always be wondering what if. And I don't like to live my life in what ifs. So I said, I'm going for this. I'm going to put all my effort into it, so that it doesn't pan out. I know that I will at least have given it an all-out effort. And my persistence has been, thankfully my family started seeing all the work that I was getting and shows that I would come out on, and my dad will call me and say, I had several friends call me this week and tell me that they saw you on this show and on that show, and he was one of the biggest voices in my ear that was like, what are you doing? And now he talks to everybody about his son, the actor.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's been a worthwhile.
Have you found that there was, and I ask these questions because there are people out there who think that acting is an easy career. And
that it is an easy career?
Yeah, there are people that think that, I don't have to give up anything and I can do all this. And I like to tell people that with anything, no matter what it is, there's sacrifice. And sometimes even with acting, you give up relationships. You give up, the at least until you arrive at a very comfortable space, you're sometimes doing things and giving up the parties and giving up the fun stuff, going out bowling on Friday night because you have to be up at 3 a.m. or you have to rehearse that night and get your study lines down for class. Have you experienced those same kind of things?
Yeah, there definitely have been a lot of sacrifices, and yes, one of those sacrifices has been relationships. Either my shooting schedule taking me away on location for a month at a time, or the person that I was dating an actress who has reached a certain level of fame, and she has booked a series that has moved her to a completely different state, and so there are sacrifices, but that in the end you're working towards a major life goal. So it has its checks and balances. You have big rewards, and sometimes you have big sacrifices in it, and it comes hand in hand. So this idea of acting being an easy job couldn't be further from the truth. Because as an actor, you're always putting yourself out there, and any successful actor will tell you that they failed more than they succeeded. But when they did succeed, it was in a big way. But yeah, I can tell you that I've had many doors slammed in my face, and many no's, and many close calls, where if I had booked one of those, it would be life-changing. And now I can actually say this, which I couldn't say before. I was on hold for a year to replace the most interesting man in the world. For a year, they had me on hold, and they ended up casting a gentleman, a French actor, and more power to him. But I was, within reach of having replaced the most interesting man in the world. And that would have been life-changing for sure.
And when you're on hold like that, a lot of the time you can't do other commercial things.
That's correct. I had to pass up certain auditions that were offered to me because I knew that this project was a big one, and so we would have to call, my agent would have to call the casting office and say, hey, they're looking at him for this, and they were like, well, we still have him on hold for this, so he's still in first position for that. And then, of course, a year later, they finally gave us a call and said, well, we went with a different actor. So it was one of those, so close. But
yeah.
I believe everything happens for a reason, and, had I done that, it would have taken me out of the theatrical acting gig for quite a while, and it was, I think, a 2-year contract to start. Although lucrative, it certainly would have taken me out of what my passion is, and that's, theater acting and TV and film.
Well, we know that you're very good at it. We love your characters, and I happen to admire you as a person and who you are. I find you to be one of the really good gems that are out there.
Oh, thank you so much, and you're an absolute sweetheart. I was so fortunate. One of the things that I took away from Sundance was the opportunity to have sat down with you and speak with you and get to know you, and I'm very appreciative of that.
Well, you're always welcome back, even if you have to bunk with the cats. And but
no problem. I love all animals, so no problem.
I know you were so tolerant. You're like, it's okay. I like animals. I was like, wait, it's Noah's Ark. Welcome. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed having you.
Thank you.
And
thank you for having me. I truly enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. And I know we want to have you on Joystick Heroes. Chance and I want to interview you when the Sony game comes out for the new show. So we will be seeing you again soon.
Likewise. Look forward to it.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, bye.
The Talking Pictures podcast is a production of Talking Pictures, produced by CiCi Chambers, distributed by Geek Factor Radio, SoundCloud, Libsyn, and iTunes. Find us all at www.talkingpictures.tv and at geekfactor-radio.com. Music provided by bensound.com.